Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, we welcome you on this show Questions of Life. My friend Desh Kapoor, he is also here with me.
Hi. Hi, Vivek.
As you know that we keep bringing these questions of life to you with a disclaimer that there are no answers to them. There are only understandings, interpretations, different perspectives, different ways of looking at, different articulations, different experiences, anecdotes, but all this material helps us find answers to our questions because my answer cannot be your answer. This is when science stops, metaphysics begins. When science doesn't have answers, that's when metaphysics begins. I hope it does not happen to anyone, but in a situation when the doctors give up with the patient, when they say, sorry, now we cannot do anything, what happens at that time? You pray. Why do you pray? Because praying is a tool for a hope. You hope that something will happen. And that's when all these questions arise. Life, death, what is God? What is karma? What is dukh? What is sukh? How to find your way in this struggle of life? These kind of questions are very important, and the reason we started because in modern times, in the times of social media, where everything is a number game, where everybody is just trying to win this race of numbers, we have started consuming all those things like junk food, junk thoughts in our minds, which have absolutely no consequence in our lives except for triggering of a decay of mind, body, and soul. So therefore we thought in the conversation of the universe, there should be these kind of programs. That's why we do it. So with this disclaimer, these are tough times, especially in India. In India, situation is really bad.
Right.
And in one word, whoever you talk to talks about something called hopelessness. And that's why I think we decided to do this show on hope. When everybody is trying to explore, understand, when people feel there is no hope. On one hand, we have been taught for centuries and thousands of years that hope is the greatest thing. Hope is what makes us live. Without hope, there is no life. And what we are seeing is that with hope, there is death all around. Whatever life you have is hopeless, feeling hopeless. Now, what is hope? I'll try to just put my introduction to this subject, hope, and then let Desh say his version, then we'll converse and we'll try to look at it from various angles. Because hope is not an ideology, so we don't have any ideologies for hope. We are just researchers who are trying to research and find meaning of hope, perhaps for ourselves, and you are our listeners, and then you can discuss and figure out. So first you have to understand what is not hope. Hope is at the center because without hope there cannot be hopelessness. Hopelessness means there was hope, and is the absence of hope. When you cannot hope any further, तभी तो हम कहते हैं अब कोई आशा नहीं बची, अब कोई hope, there is no hope now, he is breathing his last breath. When we are convinced that nothing is going to happen after this, this is the end of something. वो कार जो बार बार खराब होती है, day comes when mechanic says, sir, अब there is no hope, and then you put it in junk. It's only when you are trying something in your life, an effort for an enterprise, for education, exams, whatever, you give up something only when you realize that there cannot be anything done further. And that's when you say now there is no hope and you give it up. So which means hopelessness situation is not arisen on its own. There was hope and suddenly there is no hope. So if there was hope, who took that hope away? If there was hope, where is it gone all of a sudden from all over the world? It doesn't matter where you live, whether you are affected or not. You may be living in a country where there is 100% no cases like New Zealand. But there is no hope to travel to the world. There is no hope to walk on Times Square. You also have no hope. So in different ways, this is become a global problem that the world is feeling hopelessness, and that's where I sometimes agree with lots of philosophers, Desh, who said, I believe in it. In fact, in one of the shows I said this also, that is my own belief. But I think lots of philosophers of the world have said, great thinkers, in fact Rajneesh has also been saying it very often, Sadhguru also says it in many ways, and Aurobindo also said this, and if I remember, Jiddu Krishnamurti said it categorically, Vivekananda also said in some way or the other, and a whole lot of philosophers in the world have said something like this to the effect, which means that we should teach children about all these philosophical subjects with the same diligence and with the same efforts as we teach science. Because if there are laws of physics, the laws of nature, then there are laws of life, there is a laws of consciousness, there is law of, without understanding them we cannot survive. So if somebody says, what is hope? If somebody says that tomorrow there will be sunrise, sun will rise tomorrow, I hope, it's not a hope. Because it's a pattern which you have experienced. You know, if this happens, this will happen, this will, and you have seen it, and there is a consistency in that pattern.
Right.
So it's not hope, it's an experience. If somebody is sick and in the hospital, and there is, doctor says there is no hope of recovery, or somebody is sick or goes to the hospital, then you are not hoping. You're not hoping that this person should never die. And therefore you have a plan. You have a plan how to make this person healthier, how to fight this disease. Then you have prescriptions and all that. So there is no hope. There is a plan you are working to. There is cause and effect again. So there is no, all you are hoping is that the plan succeeds. And that's why doctors also add, if everything goes right, if everything goes according to the plan. So that is not a hope, that's a plan. And I think what has happened in the case of COVID-19, that this global plan, which all the powerful people have been planning for the rest of the world, that plan has suddenly gone awry. So hope is not gone. Hopelessness is, you feel hopelessness, but actually the plan has gone awry. You are hoping it won't go wrong. Then the another kind of hope is that in that hope you want to become rich and better and more. I hope I get married to the most beautiful girl. You hope that you are successful in your work. You hope that people will like you. You are hoping. There are short-term hopes. You are going to a party. You hope that people like you. You know, you are going to a club. You hope you will find a nice, beautiful, sexy girl who you can take out for a date in the first meeting. Okay, those are not hopes. Those are desires. Those are your wants and stuff like that.
Right.
So if your hope is about becoming rich, better, getting something more and more and more, that's not hope. That's your greed. You want to add more and more and better. You think this is better for you. There's no you in it. It's a template. You have seen that rich people drive big cars. So you hope that you will also have big cars. That's the only idea of richness in your mind. You have no plan, nothing. So you are daydreaming. You are Sheikh Chilli.
Right.
Or you have invested some money in a stock and you hope that it will multiply 4 or 5 times. But you have no bloody control on that. You're hoping for something which is uncontrollable by you. Clouds are thundering and you're hoping it doesn't rain. It's beyond your control. So you are an idiot if you're hoping something like that. So it's not hope, first of all. I'm just trying to define what is not hope. So I arrive at
Right.
hope, and it's not that I thought about it. I'm also just thinking as I speak. Then second is that you are in this competitive world, every aspect, whether it's a marriage market, it's a children market, it's a school market, your job market, your status market, whatever, you are in marketplace. Without marketplace, you can't survive. Whoever you are, whoever, right from beggar to kings and right from saints to scientists, everybody is in this market. And if you want to win the race in whichever level, if you say, okay, if there are 10 rounds I have to take, may I run at least one round faster than everybody else. At least, ek to mauka do Bhagwan.
Right.
Then you want to win this race just to believe that you are powerful, more powerful than others, or you belong to the powerful lobby. That is your ego, it's not hope. Right? So,
Right.
more or less, these are the things. So, I told you what is hope, but we still don't know what is hope. And now
Right.
you have to take on from here, you define what is hope. As you speak, let me also reflect and think, and then maybe if I am able, I will try to tell you what I think is hope. So, this is, and before you begin, I would just like to say or ask you or trigger you off in our direction of thinking. In Indian philosophy, in Indian metaphysics, okay, if metaphysics is better, it sounds like science, so the woke people will not misunderstand me.
Right.
Maya is what we are chasing all our lives. और माया, if I'm not wrong, तो goddess का रूप है. I think status goddess का है माया. We are chasing Maya. Is Maya hope? माया, there is no negative connotation to Maya. माया में कुछ गलत नहीं है. माया में सब कुछ जो है वो encompassed है. Maya is like omni present
Right.
around us. So let's begin with that. First, you tell me whenever you want, whenever in your thought process, answer this also.
So I think the way you explained it was very beautiful, and I am quite aligned with what your thinking is. And before I proceed, I think there's one book that everyone should read, who's feeling kind of low, hopeless, and that is the Urban Axles. I think that is actually a book of life. Because I have, when I read it, it almost seemed like a story of a person who had lost all. The friends were not helping him. The people around were not helping him. Things were not going the way like they should have. Still, that person found a way to do whatever he wanted to do. Like you were saying, the plan. So you had a plan, and you somehow against all odds, made it successful. So that is a very important thing when one is going through a very depressive, very low time, when nothing seems to be working. And I think that's a state that we all are in currently, especially in India. And so whenever I have...
Can I just add something?
Please.
Here? So the first written word of the book is black, full stop. It's a paragraph by itself. So it starts with hopeless.
Right. And I, as I was reading, I was like, this is not just a book about this group of people who are trying to sabotage India, but more about, like a book of life. How to actually live life, how to actually fight against all odds and still make it successful. So that is a book that everyone should be reading. So taking on from there, whenever I felt very hopeless or at least, low or depressed, I always go back to how people who were coming during partition to India would have been facing, because both of my parents came from Lahore. And I know that, I've sat down with my grandfather and, I've heard stories from him. I've discussed how things were happening and all those things. They were actually fathers, they were actually brothers who were, killing and cutting down their own wives, their own daughters, their own mothers, because they did not want to let them get in the hands of the hordes of mobs who were coming to kill and rape and all those things. And when they came, for example, my grandfather, now his mother would keep, that's what they used to say, one seir or kilo of gold for every granddaughter. So they were pretty well off. But when they left everything. They didn't have any hope, whatsoever, that they will ever be successful, ever be, able to live their lives or do anything properly, because they had left all, they came with nothing. And they came in during a time when there was winters in North, from September, October onwards, the winter actually sets in. So that's when they had to be in North, without having any warm clothes, without having any money, without having any food, and still they try to make themselves successful and at least live for the, initially. So, and, whenever I look at them, I think if they can make it successful, if they can, find hope in that absolute hopelessness, when a father cuts down his own daughter and still hopes to live, you cannot imagine the pain that a person actually goes through. And that pain, I have seen. My own father actually wrote a story in Bharat Times at that time called Pagal. And he explained how one father actually killed his own kid and wife. And then, was somehow made it to India. And he had went, crazy. And these stories were there almost everywhere. How did they, after all that stuff that was happening, how did they even live? How could they even live after that? There are people, on YouTube, I've seen those stories when, they explain and they keep on sobbing and sobbing and sobbing about how, they saw their own mother die, how they saw their own sister die, and still they had to keep on living. So there is, those were absolutely avoidable things, just as today's deaths are, in some way. If things had gone right, if the infrastructure was there, if doctors were there, if the oxygen was there, maybe things would have been much better. But then there's a whole lot of other things, the business is going down, there is no jobs and things like that. But so that is where this comes through. And looking at Maya, the way I differentiate is Lakshmi and Maya. So Lakshmi is the wealth, and Maya is very vaguely called the illusion of this world. Now, the way I understand about Maya, about this illusion of Maya, is that this whole world at the subatomic level or the quantum level is actually a wave, an infinite set of possibilities. Out of those infinite set of possibilities, when we observe, only one remains. That is called the wave collapse. So when we have this idea or mind which observes, then this world actually happens. So the problem is not that this whole world that we see or experience is not there. It is there. The problem is that it is one out of the infinite possibilities out there. We have approximated infinite to only one, and we have negated infinite minus one possibilities. That is the crime that we have done. When we say that this is the only truth, this physical world is the only truth, then we are also saying that infinite minus one possibilities are not even there, which is a gross crime in how you are looking at the truth. So this is an illusion because you are collapsing infinite into just one possibility. And that is a problem. There is a world, there is a universe, there is existence far beyond this physical dimension, which scientists have been looking at, other people have been looking at. So that should give us some faith at least, or some thought that there is a world out there which is far beyond this. And there are many, many rules, many, many things that work, which may not look like manifesting the physical world, but they do. Now, how does that work? There was this a guy called Admiral Jim Stockdale. So I don't know. Many of you must have read this business writer Jim Collins, Good to Great, right? He wrote that book. For his book, he went to talk to this guy called Admiral Jim Stockdale. Now, Jim Stockdale was arrested during the Vietnam War from 1968 to 1974. So for 7 years, he was tortured. He was kept there in Hanoi, and all his friends were there. And after 7 years of absolute torture, because he didn't know whether day, night, what day it is, what time it is, they would just come and torture him and just leave him for dead. For 7 years, this kept on going, and he still came out, and he said to Jim Collins that I was much stronger after that. So Jim Collins asked him, he says, so how did you guys were able to get through that hopelessness, absolute hope? Because you don't know, 7 years is not a short time. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 7 years. 7 years is a long time to just keep on getting tortured and having no hope and no end in sight. So he said, because he said there were two things that were important. One, he said that unwavering, absolute faith that you will succeed out of this situation. Second, face the situation in the most brutal facts. Do not make up stuff. If you think that things will are not working out, then things are not working out right now. Don't hope that you will get out at the end of some this year or next year. So he said, so who were the people who actually could not make it? And he said, the optimists. He said the optimists were the one who actually failed. They were the ones who died. So he said, why? He said they kept on thinking that, okay, by Christmas, by Thanksgiving, by this end of the year, by summer, by this thing, we will find, the way out, or we'll get out. And that never happened. Christmas came, Christmas went. New Year's came, New Year's went. Summer came, summer went, and nothing happened. And they just died of broken heart. He said the thing that works is not hope, but faith. Faith that you will make it through. Faith that you will succeed no matter what happens. But while you are facing the brutal facts, that you can not negate the brutal. So it cannot be that will things get right for people who are facing a very bad situation, say by August or by end of this year. You cannot just hope, yes, things will get right. You have to look at facts the way they are, and then say that will they get right? If not, then what? Then what am I going to do? Because life is not about just your vocation or you're doing a job or you're doing, making a movie or, this thing. Life is much bigger. People who came during partition, their entire businesses went away. Everything went away. They just were living life and they, made that success. उन्होंने यहाँ के पकोड़े बेचे थे. उन्होंने इंडिया आके पकोड़े बेचे उन्होंने खाना बनाया. वो आज जितने भी रेस्टोरेंट आप देखते हैं दिल्ली के करोल बाग में, राजेंद्र नगर में, और वो जो शॉप्स देखते हैं, वो सब उन्होंने बनाई थी जो वहाँ से वो मर पिट के आए थे. वो ये काम नहीं करते थे वहाँ पर. वो पकोड़े नहीं बेचते थे वहाँ पर यहाँ आके उन्होंने पकोड़े बेचे क्योंकि उनका कोई तरीका ही नहीं था. तो there is a life is life. So I know that I also look for hope, but at a certain time you have to tell yourself, like you have shown in Urban Axel book, that you have to have a plan, like you were saying. Plan नहीं होगा तो फिर नहीं हो पाएगा. So that is my thought.
You said so. See, the problem is that there's a small Zen story, and they have very small stories that there's a seeker who goes to a monk or somebody who goes to a teacher, and he asks a fundamental question, and teacher replies in a very sometimes funny, sometimes cryptic, sometimes in poetic, in different manners. So he said, why we are born?
Right.
And his answer was simple: we are born to die.
Right.
Right. So then he said, then why we are born if we have to die? He said, because there is life in between.
Right. Beautiful.
So he said, but what's the point of that life if it has to end? So he said, that's why you should create. Because what you create will never end.
Right.
The creation never dies.
Correct.
So he said, is creation everything in life? He said, yes. So he said, is creation the only thing? What about religion? What about politics? What about physics? What about chemistry? What about society? What about this? And he said, all that is gossip.
Right.
And why I'm saying this? Because I believe, and I've written in my new book also, Who Killed Shastri. Actually, title is such, it sounds like a thriller, though it is a thriller, but it's very spiritual book. It is highly, and I have dedicated it to Aurobindo, so it's from that school of philosophy. I've spoken a lot about Tyag and stuff like that, and in that I have spoken about hope also in many different ways, So why do people in India feel so hopeless? Why people in US perhaps do not feel so hopeless with the system, or they do feel so hopeless? But one thing, you don't feel hopeless about where your next bread is going to come from, or if you're in a crisis, who is going to come to help you? Whereas in India, why? It's a very practical example. One has to understand. In India, every citizen of this country always has back of mind this thought: if tomorrow my house is on fire, or if I am in an accident, or if somebody attacks me, will firefighters or the ambulance or the police will reach on time or not? Am I safe or not? Right?
Right.
But Indians are not so insecure about love and compassion and empathy and relationships and all those things. Americans are. So everybody is feeling unsafe and insecure about different things, and this is too much of a generalization. I mean, I don't like such generalization, but it is general, so we are talking generally. We are not talking specific. So more or less it's like this. So everybody is in the world insecure and unsafe about something. And there is nobody in this world who does not believe in hope. If everybody believes in hope, if everybody has hope which is always positive, nobody is hoping that tomorrow there will be a nuclear bomb explosion.
Right.
Nobody is hoping, oh, tomorrow I'll die. Nobody is hoping that.
Right.
Even the person on ventilator who definitely is going to die in next few minutes is hoping he won't die. So there is nobody who doesn't have hope. Doctors also hope, भाई बची जाए क्या भरोसा है. तो हर आदमी होप के सहारे है. जब घर में आग लगती है, everybody is hoping कि पूरा घर ना जल जाए, थोड़ा तो बच जाए. Everybody is hoping for something positive.
Right.
If the whole world is unsure and insecure about what is there in the present, right now, and has a very positive hope, and that hope is always failing, there is not even one instance of hope succeeding. It only means two things. Either hope is an illusion, like an illusion is self-explanatory, it's Maya, okay, which you will keep chasing, you will never be able to find it, या मिथ्या जो है, or it is false, it's a false concept, right? And hope is also a scam, like democracy or equality and stuff like that. Look at equality. I'll also explain in good detail, because suddenly I'm reflecting after you said, great thing you did. In fact, you inspired me when you said hope and faith. Suddenly it clicked in my mind. So I'm thinking in direction of faith. What I'm trying to do in this conversation, I'm just self-talking, and I have two hypotheses. Is hope real or is faith real? Is hope more reliable or is faith more reliable? Is hope worth investing your emotional energy into, or faith? So let's try and discover. I don't have any answer, we'll explore.
Right.
So, like equality, the concept of equality. Okay, now everybody should be equal. It sounds great to ears. But it is impossible, it is not possible absolutely biologically. Biologically, nobody in this world can create that kind of equality. There will be weak people, there will be strong people, there will be sick people, there will be all kinds of people. You just cannot create. And that is the diversity within the species.
And thank God it is like that.
Thank God it's like that, you know. It's not like 100 zebras standing and you don't even know who's Ram Prasad ka zebra kaun sa hai or Sham Prasad ka zebra kaun sa hai, you know.
सारे अगर मेरे जैसे हो तो ये दुनिया तो जीने वाले लायक ही नहीं रहेगी
जी,
अगर सारे मेरे जैसे हो
तो जो इक्वालिटी का जो ये कॉन्सेप्ट है, अच्छा अब आप मुझे एक बात बताइए कि आपको दूर से कोई 100 लोग खड़े हुए हैं और उसमें अगर एक बंदा चल के आ रहा है, भले उसकी शक्ल नहीं दिख रही, आप उसकी बॉडी लैंग्वेज से पहचान सकते हैं ये आपका बच्चा है या आपकी माँ है या भाई है या बहन है.
करेक्ट.
आपको कितनी भी डिस्टॉर्टेड कोई फोन पे आवाज सुनाई पड़े, आप पहचान जाएंगे ये किसकी है, इफ यू नो द पर्सन वेरी वेल. Which means in thousands of people, in thousands and thousands of people, if you can identify people, which means everybody has a unique expression, unique body language, unique walk, unique mannerism, and unique voice. And there is no duplicate of that. There is no other print of that. There is only one like that. So you will always remain unequal in expressing yourself.
Right.
Now you can say, "Acha, okay, this is created by Mother Nature. It's beyond our control. We cannot change this. We can't change the features and all those kind of things. However much plastic surgery we do, we can't change voice. We can't do all those things. But at least one thing we can change, which is your thoughts. Which is your thoughts. Which means we can wire and code all the minds in such a way that you make a charter and you say, this is what equality, this is freedom, this is this, and everybody is coded, and like a uniform algorithm, everybody starts thinking in the same way, and there is no crime, no oppression, no injustice, no nothing which you don't like.
Right.
Then what's going to happen? I can guarantee, I can write in my blood that then people will start fighting for inequality. You will fight for what you don't have.
Right.
Because you are always hoping that what you don't have is better than what you have.
Correct.
And that's why we have been screwing this world for so many centuries.
Very
A king has been thinking that if I have that land, that territory, if I defeat that king, then he hopes to become a more powerful and bigger king.
Correct.
Right? So, hope is false. That's what I believe. Hope is also a scam, like democracy. And I'm saying it very categorically. It's a social scam. It's a social construct. You know.
Right.
Like patriarchy is a social construct. Right? Oppression is a social construct. Equality is also social. So like that, I think hope is a social construct or a religious construct or a philosophical. Let's not get into where. I think it's a social human construct. There's nothing such as hope. We are not gifted with hope. And I can prove it wrong also. Biologically, I can prove it wrong. So hope is like an opium, an alcohol, a promise, a grand promise. What politicians do, what religious gurus do. For so many thousands of years since the advent of religion, everybody has spoken about God, but nobody has seen it, nobody has experienced. Yes, there can be some examples, but that can be interpreted. But there is no, you can't say, okay, here is God. You can't say that. Here is death, you can say that. Here is life, you can say that. Here is breath, you can say that. But there will be breath. There will be breath, you can't say that. Or this is how I will be breathing 5 years from now, you cannot say that.
Right.
Correct? So So, like religion, right, like democracy, this concept of equality, a free world, a lovely, beautiful world which we have created in our minds, which has never happened, which will never happen. Right? And we are stuck in that, and that's why this world is suffering. And let me tell you one thing: when you have, like he said, poverty is opium, right?
Right.
That's what Marx said. Poverty, religion is an opium. He said
Yeah,
religion.
religion.
You replace the word religion, it's hope. Religion is hope.
Right.
I understand the relevance and the utility of religion in social life, but it is an opium. It's like a kind of a intoxication, kind of a make-believe world. Something
Right.
which is not there, but you believe in it as if it's real. You know,
Correct.
and you will find that these kind of things where there is drama involved, there is unexpected involved, where there is suspense and surprise involved, a fantasy is involved, a kind of a dream is involved. These are very intoxicating affairs. And they pull a lot of people towards them. They are very magnetic effect. आप किसी को बोलिए I saw a dream last night, let me just tell you. Everybody, every single person will be interested. And if some science-driven guy says, yesterday, I cracked a formula of physics, let me tell you, you won't be interested. Even that scientist also will be interested in knowing about your dream. So they have that magnetic, magical quality to them. So
Right.
this attracts crowd. Now you see what are the things which attract crowd. Religion attracts crowd. Politics attracts crowd. All these kind of fundas like democracy and equality and this, all these things attract a lot of crowd. Movies attract a lot of crowd. Circus attracts crowd. Because all these things help us escape from our present. Because we are made to believe, since we were slaves and soldiers of our disciplined armies, earlier churches army, religious gurus armies, then kings armies, now democracies armies, then then the corporates armies, you need disciplined mobs, disciplined masses. And disciplined masses have been actually opiumed or intoxicated, okay, with this weird concept of something which will happen. And they're made to believe you cannot deal with the present.
Correct.
And which is why nobody is interested in present and everybody is hoping for some kind of a future. And we are trying to make that future possible. We are wasting so much of energy in making that stupid thing possible. Concepts like total freedom, absolute freedom, concepts like absolute freedom of speech, concepts like absolute equality. No sane person can ever say it will be possible. You can move in that direction, you can work towards that direction, but it is like multiverse. You move 2 steps, that will move 1 million light years step ahead of you. You'll always be chasing that mithya. So in the end, let me just conclude like this, that since you can't deal with your normal, you create hope.
Right.
But when the life forces you to meet the present, which you should have done all along your life, like that Zen guru told him, everything else is gossip. Your only reason for being here on this earth is to experience, learn and create, nothing else.
Right.
Nobody is creating, but all of us have hope.
Right.
What we don't have is a plan. Once you have a plan, if everybody starts looking at the present, all the governments, everybody in the world understands the value of the present, which our sages, rishis, everybody understood. And India does understand the value of present. That's why we don't invest in future. That's a joke, by the way. So if everybody focuses on the present, there will be no future crisis.
Right.
Future crisis is because you were hoping this will happen and you were preparing and investing in that, but something else has happened, you don't know what to do. The whole world's health infrastructure has crumbled and collapsed, and all the progress we made in science ultimately is lost because people are dying.
Right.
So this is how I would sum up hope for myself.
So what they said was, like, during that time, people had just lost hope because every few years, some big pandemic or some big plague would happen, and a lot of people would die, and they didn't know how to actually save themselves. Now, that was also the time when Christianity was also coming up, and the old gods were about, okay, you do this, and then and you do these things, these sacrifices, or this meditation, and things will become better. What Christianity came up with was that there is a heaven, that there is a hope of a heaven which is better. So even if you die, don't worry, there is a heaven up there which is going to give you this and this. So it gave hope during a time when there was hopelessness, even though that hope was false in many ways, because there is no up, there is no God that anyone has ever seen. This planet actually goes rotates at 1000 miles per hour, goes around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. So whatever is up changes every second. So basically, that's where the whole hope in the religion context came. In our this thing, we used to say that move from the tamasic to the sattvic gun, or actions, so that you can experience swarg. उसका जो वो पूरा वो था, जो rational था, वो यही था कि if you do things properly, then good things will happen to you. But Krishna also said that, and everybody else said that you are still within the confines of this Maya, or this Tigurmay Maya. Like you are not going out or liberated and into moksha or nirvana nahi mila bhi. So basically, Krishna, everybody saying, Alex said that go beyond sattvic also, because then you don't need to be dependent on even a hope of good things will happen because you've done the right things, right? Now that that was not a message of hope, like in that sense के वो कोई है ऊपर जो देगा, नहीं, कोई ऊपर नहीं है जो देगा. आपने अगर सात्विक कर्म किए हैं तो आपको स्वर्ग की अनुभूति होगी, अभी नहीं होगी तो बाद में होगी. But then, there was also a disclaimer that this is also very, very temporary. This anubhuti of swarg is also temporary. This is not going to be forever. You have to go beyond this to be absolutely, equanimous, to be, beyond all this good, bad, ugly, up and down, and all those things. राम का अगर जीवन देखें या कृष्ण का जीवन देखें, उनके जीवन काफी दुख में ही थे, from start to finish. And so then, you realize, मैं अक्सर सोचता हूँ कि अपने बच्चों को अगर मैं ब्लेसिंग दूं तो क्या दूं. उनको ये कहूं कि आपका जीवन हमेशा अच्छा रहेगा. मैं जानता हूं कि नहीं रहेगा, बिकॉज ये दुनिया ही ऐसी है. तो अगर ब्लेसिंग देनी है तो मैं ये देना चाहता हूं कि जब अच्छा वक्त आए तो उसको संभालना सीखो, जब बुरा वक्त आए तो उससे निकलना सीखो. बस इतना समझ लो.
Great. So I think that is like wonderful thought on which we can leave. So that is our discussion on hope. And I know times are very tough, but I would just sum it up saying that let's focus more on what is. I think he just now Desh referred to Ram and Krishna. If you look at the two major texts of India, Ramayana and Mahabharata, throughout they are based on actions. They are not based on hope. They have a plan, they have an action, and they act on it. Ram, when Sita was taken away by Ravan, then they worked on a plan. They acted, they traveled. I mean, they spent all their forest lives, 8 years or 9 years. How many years he was away? I'm sorry, not an expert. Yeah, but many years. Yeah, whatever it is. So, and they planned for so many years. They had a plan. So what you have to understand is Krishna has spoken about karma, कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते मा फले कदाचन. आप कर्म एक्शन करते जाइए. Okay, but then they are visionaries. You have to have a vision. Don't hope, have a vision for your children. Like Desh said, have a vision for them. Don't hope for them. एंड होप आती है जो व्हाट इज, जो आज है हमारे सामने, व्हाट इज एंड व्हाट शुड बी. We want a better health, but we are not focusing in our what is the breath right now. We are not focusing on that. We are not focusing in what we are eating right now, how we are thinking right now, how we are feeling right now, but we are hoping for something. And this gap between what is and what should be, I think that's what we calculate as hope.
Beautiful. Yeah.
All I am saying is this discrepancy between, see, is also directly proportional to the disappointment and suffering in your life, because bigger the discrepancy, bigger the suffering, lesser the discrepancy, lesser the this thing. When your what is becomes your what should be, what I should be now, you don't need hope. You need vision, and then you just have to keep doing things in now. And I personally believe in it. If our society, people, everybody works for now, what is now? 2-3 good things will happen. This world will be full of healthy people. This world today is suffering more because of sick people. Unfortunately, we have instilled in our minds from school and college and throughout our lives that as long as you are not hospitalized, you are healthy. As long as you are not on drugs or pills, you are healthy. No, it's not true. Absolutely. A healthy person is a different person.
Right.
A healthy person is who's breathing now to the fullest, who's in control of his thoughts, his emotions, and who's going inwards. That's a healthy person. What hope does is takes you out and makes you wander in things which are beyond your control. And in the process, you forget what is in your control, which is you. And that's possible only when you go in. And that is the meditative state. Meditation is not sitting for 10 minutes and doing Om or breathing hard. That's a meditation exercise.
Right.
You have a healthy lifestyle. And you also work out and you run and you jog. That running, going to gym is a part of that. It's not healthy life is a healthy lifestyle. Similarly, meditative state of mind is a meditative state of mind. Meditating for 10 minutes, half an hour is just one of the part of it, small part of it.
Right.
So you can be in meditative state only when you are in what is. That is my feeling. Right now, we are going through a big challenge. And I think instead of thinking what will happen in the future, whether humanity survives or not survives, will totally depend on that what our actions are today in now. So I hope and pray for all your families' well-being, your health, your safety. Before I go, I just want to tell you that I am with the foundation which is bringing you this show, is also involved in providing psychological, mental well-being counseling to all the people involved in entertainment and media industry. We are focusing on that because we are going by what we can handle. Then we are also working. There is one very sad and very big thing is that a lot of children are being orphaned where both the parents, working parents, have died. In lots of cases, parents are quarantined, grandparents are quarantined, and children have nobody to look after. So in some cases, their servants are looking after them. Children are getting very anxious, depressed, or they're getting aloof. There are a whole lot of psychological, mental well-being issues. And our I Am Buddha Foundation is working very closely with Child Protection Rights Commission. And you can see on I Am Buddha all social media handles. So if you know any case like that, if any child or their family, or if the child who's quarantined and after 14 days is anxious or whatever, we are there to help you. We are doing whatever we can at this moment. With this note, I would just end, and I would like to make another request to you that we are all doing this for public service, absolutely for Samaj Seva. We have no interest in this. So if you can help us research better, bring to you better subjects and better efforts together, you can go down and you can read where you'll find Drishtikon's website ID also, and I Am Buddha Foundations also. You can help us in research, volunteering, spread the word, let people know our efforts. And if you want, you can also financially contribute. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.